CEO at the Guelph Chamber of Commerce, and I'm joined on stage this morning by Sarah Hanstra, the chair of our board of directors. We're very happy to be welcoming you all to the State of the City address. While gathered together this morning, we would like to take the time to reflect on our privilege to live and work in Guelph. This is a city built over rich Indigenous histories, and collectively we have a responsibility to care for this land and the people who live here today and the generations to come. If our actions today can move us towards reconciliation, we should take pause and make those decisions with intention and gratitude. Guelph has served as traditional lands and a place of refuge for many people over time. But more specifically, the Attawandarong and the Haudenosaunee, this land is held as treaty lands and territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, and it lies adjacent to the Haldimand Tract, part of a long-established traditional hunting ground for the Six Nations of the Grand River. First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people have come from across Turtle Island to call Guelph home today. At the Guelph Chamber, our attention is focused on ensuring your business can be at its best. We're a catalyst for business growth. We're conveners of industry leaders focused on getting things done, and we're champions of our community. We're proud of the many perks of our chamber membership. We offer cost-saving programs, networking and educational events, and our advocacy is focused on promoting the conditions necessary for a business climate that is prosperous. Attendance today is reflective of the breadth of our network and our commitment to exemplifying community leadership. Before I pass it to Sarah, I do want to make sure that everyone's receiving our regular e-communications. Please keep the date saved for June 20th as we celebrate the accomplishments of those within the network, like many of you in the room, at our annual Awards of Excellence. Award nominations are open and self-nominations are encouraged. Please also keep your eye out for an email you'll receive next week, where we will be conducting a member survey. We need to hear about the challenges and opportunities you're facing, and we want to know what kind of feedback we need to hear so that the content we create in an ongoing fashion meets your business and your team's needs. Sarah.
Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with all of you this morning, and nice to see lots of familiar faces in the room. I realized this morning that I can see all of you with my glasses and I can see my notes without them. So these are coming off, and now you're a bit of a blur, but I'll put them on right when I'm done. So before I introduce a few of our guests, I just wanted to take a few minutes to plant a few seeds as we listen to our mayor's take on the state of the city in just a few minutes. We're in a room full of people that I know care about this community. I'm one of those people, and I know that you are all one of those people as well. People in this room work in many sectors and contexts. I work in healthcare, we have people who work in education, the service industry, manufacturing, so on and so on. You can rattle off the places that you work, but many, many different sectors in the room. And I firmly believe that 100% of us in the room, and maybe 95, even 98% of people well beyond this room want to live in a community where everyone has the opportunity to thrive. But what does that mean, right? I think that also means something very similar to all of us. It's a place where people have access to decent work that matches their skills and gives them an income that can allow them to pay for their needs. Where there's a competitive business climate because policy decisions are outcome focused and consider cost and ease of doing business. Where people can afford to rent or buy a home that's in good repair, that's big enough for themselves and the people that they live with. Where people have access to affordable, nutritious food. Where people feel like they belong in their neighborhood, as part of a group or in their family, and that when people are struggling, whether to pay their bills or to access food or with their mental health, that they can access healthcare, supports, and the services that they need. And I'm seeing nods in the room, right? Like that's kind of what we all want. There's more, the list is longer, but I'll stop there for now. I care about those things as the chair of the Guelph Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors. I know that the Chamber cares about these things, and I'm certain that you do as well. And when we think of all these things, what we know is that they are inextricably linked, right, at the personal and individual level. So if someone's struggling with their income, that's going to impact their ability to access a home that meets their needs or healthy food. If someone's struggling with their mental health, that's going to impact their ability to perform at work. Maybe to parent, maybe to be the person that they want to be out in the community. And yet often when we address these kinds of barriers or challenges, we address them and we take action in silos, right? We address housing issues with housing policy, we address economic issues with economic levers, we address mental health issues with mental health programming. Now I've been given about 2.3 minutes up here, and I'd love to go off on a tangent about examples of shining stars where folks are working together across sectors, across industries, many people who are in this room, and I'd love to do that, but 2.3 minutes is pretty short, so I'm gonna carry on knowing that that's not always the case. And so I wanna say is complex issues are just that, right? They're complex, and they require responses or interventions from folks across multiple sectors, across business, across social services, and they require us to think about foreseen and unforeseen ripple effects when we take action. So to address these issues, we need all sectors at the table. We need all levels of government and community. We need diverse voices, including people with lived experience. We need expertise and foresight at the table. We need leaders and doers from different vantage points weighing in on solutions and working together to ensure we live in a community where we intentionally and collectively create the conditions where everyone has the opportunity to thrive. So if I said something that resonated with you this morning, please keep it in mind as we listen to our mayor. If I didn't say something that resonated with you, I'll be on my merry way very quickly. But not before I introduce a few of our special guests today. I would like to take a moment to welcome a few people in the room, and please raise your hand when I say your name. Our Member of Provincial Parliament, Mike Schreiner. Guelph Chief of Police, Gord Kobe and his team. Dr. Nicola Mercer from Wellington Duff and Guelph Public Health. Dr. Charlotte Yates, President and Vice Chancellor, University of Guelph. My fellow Chamber Board members, Brandy Douglas. Sophia Miller, yeah. Eric Johnstone. Melissa McDonald. Scott Harbison. And of course our guest of honor, Mayor Cam Guthrie. And his fellow councillors, Rodrigo Galler, Carly Klassen, Kathy Downer, Ken Yi Chu, Leanne Caron, I promise this list is almost in here, Linda Busuttil, and Dominique O'Rourke. And good morning to many city staff in the room. Finally, I would like to recognize the committed community investors and partners in the room who continue to contribute to make events like this possible. Thank you to CN Rail, the University of Guelph, Conestoga College, Electra, Delta, Guelph Hotel and Conference Center, Enbridge, RBC Royal Bank, and Fusion Homes. Thank you for your dedication to the Chamber, business network, and our community. I'd now like to welcome our title sponsor, Danielle Salvatore from CN Rail, to say a few words and introduce our mayor.
Good morning, everyone. It is a privilege and pleasure to be with all of you here this morning representing CN and the over 24,000 women and men that represent and work our North American network daily. As I mentioned before, CN is a proud member, sponsor and partner with the Guelph Chamber of Commerce, excuse me, who does such great work on representing the interests of the business community and everyone here this morning. I think Shakib and her team do a fantastic job in the work that they do, so let's give them a quick round of applause. I had lost my notes, so the applause was for me to find my spot. Apologies. CN's committed to being a good neighbor in the communities through which we operate. So I wanted to speak about one of the ways in which we try and do that. And that's to speak to our environmentally friendly, sustainable, our ESG story. In fact, moving goods long distance is one of the most environmentally friendly and sustainable ways of doing so. Another initiative we have is, or partnership we have with Tree Canada's, CN's the largest corporate sponsor, and we plant hundreds of thousands of trees a year. Just over 1.2 million trees in the life of our partnership to date. And actually, Your Worship, I'd like to speak to you about planting some trees this year in Guelph, so stay tuned. We also are committed to being the most fuel-efficient railroad in North America. Right now, we are 15% more fuel efficient than the industry average, and we're not done. And I just print out your remarks, don't use your phone, folks, apologies. But enough about CN, let's move on to the man of the morning. He completed a 3-year term serving as the chair of Ontario's Big City Mayors Group, a group of 29 mayors of cities with more than 100,000 people or more, who collectively represent 70% of Ontario's population. In March 2022, he was appointed to the Global Covenant of Mayors for Climate and Energy, the GCOM, Board of Mayors representing North America. He was a licensed insurance broker and local entrepreneur for 16 years before becoming mayor. An avid community volunteer, Cam has served on the boards of several local not-for-profit organizations and mentored startups and small business owners through the Business Center of Guelph, Wellington. He holds a business diploma from Sir Sanford Fleming College as well. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming His Worship Mayor Cam Guthrie. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and wow, it's such a big full room here, and I really appreciate all of you making the time to be here today. Thank you so very much. I want to just start things off before we get into sort of the state of the city portion with the fact that I'm bringing back a little bit of a pause on the Mayor's Awards. And it's nice to kick things off to try to acknowledge and recognize some real big people in our community that are making a massive difference. And so after a little hiatus because of the pandemic, I want to make sure that we recognize people that are making a difference. And this was actually started in 1997 by Mayor Joe Young at the time. And the awards recognize honorees for volunteer contributions to many different aspects of city life. And that can include things like arts, culture, health, mental health, community building, social justice, athletics, the environment, and we could go on. And so I am thrilled today to announce the 2023 Mayor's Award honorees and present them with their awards. I know we're going to hear some awesome cheering for them. If you don't want to cheer for me later on, that's fine. We'll just cheer for them, okay? That would be great. So the first is Mike Darman. Mike is most well known for his volunteer service with the Guelph Coalition of Active Transportation, or GCAT. Through his service with GCAT, Mike is committed to reducing greenhouse gas emissions by increasing the quantity, quality, and safety of active transportation here in Guelph. Now, Mike served on the GCAT board, a long-standing member, also as a director, the vice president, and currently as the chair of the GCAT's advocacy committee. He spends countless hours researching active transportation issues, developing proposed infrastructure solutions, and building the city's community of active transportation users. And one of the things I really appreciate about Mike and actually the whole GCAT group is how they liaison with our staff. They do it in such a respectful way, along with council and other stakeholders. So Mike also, though, volunteers his time to build the outdoor ice rink at Riverside Park. So if anyone has ever taken part of that, say thanks, Mike. This involves not only standing outside on the coldest times of the year, hosing down the rink, but also marshaling and coordinating all the others in the neighborhood to help to do that. And Mike was also actually a really big contributor to our Guelph's community plan as well. So let's give it up for Mike Darman. Thank you so much. We we have this award here for Mike, and these are from a local artist, by the way, and I thought it would be perfect. It's obviously the covered bridge with a couple bicycles on it, so that makes sense. So, Mike, congratulations.
Thanks.
Now, next is Noreen Dat-Sukram, and volunteering is Noreen's passion. An active volunteer since 2002, volunteers his time to mentor Guelph citizens to achieve their career and their academic goals, including teaching mathematics. He also helps Guelphites craft resumes and cover letters, and he helps them actually prepare for job interviews. From 2002 to 2012, Noreen also drove a lot of community members who had no personal transportation to their workplaces. And during the pandemic, Noreen, who is also a registered social worker with the Ontario College of Social Workers and Social Service Workers, actually volunteered his time to provide mental health counseling for immigrants, women, people of color, people with disabilities, and international students. And as a member of the BIPOC community, he understands and he can relate really well to what is being faced by some of the fellow community members on a daily basis. Noreen continues to make himself available for counseling as needed. And Noreen has been recognized for his volunteer service with the 2014 Tourism Industry Award of Excellence for Volunteer of the Year, the Governor General Caring Canadian Award for Volunteerism, the June College Outstanding Achievement Award for Volunteerism from the Ontario's Ministry of Citizenship and Immigration, and the Volunteer Impact Helping Hands Award from the Volunteer Action Center, also in Kitchener. And now, you can add my award to the list if you have room on your mantle there at home. So let's give it up for Noreen.
Would you like to say a few words? It will be 30 seconds, sure.
Yeah, 30 seconds. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Noreen Dat-Sukram. I was born and raised in Guyana, but I happen to work most of my life here in Guelph. When I started out my career in Guelph, I obviously started out as a factory worker. I share this for a reason. Doing honest sacrifice, driving people to get to work and so forth, I realized that we can do more over the years. I'm happy to share that in a few months I will finish off my Doctor of Social Work.
I don't know how you found the time, but congratulations. Okay. All right. You're going to need a bigger, got lots of pins there. You're awesome. Thank you very much. All right, Jim Orr is next. And Jim is known as the guy who builds bridges. He helped design, plan, and build the Cove Valley Bridge as a volunteer with the Guelph Hiking Trail Club. And he continues to maintain that bridge to ensure it stays structurally sound. And that's in addition to the ongoing trail maintenance he's been doing for at least 20 years along one of the radial line trails. And during his many years, he's also helped with Habitat for Humanity in Guelph, Wellington. Jim's built homes for fellow community members in his role as a crew lead. And Jim has also led numerous kitchen salvages so it doesn't go to waste. During Jim's volunteer work with the Guelph Little Theatre, also over the last 20 years, he's designed plenty of sets and recently built a puppet stage area for Praise the Ward, which is a really cool event that happened last year. Congratulations, Jim. Thank you for all you're doing, and keep building bridges.
That makes sense, eh? Nice bridge. I'll shake your hand. There you go. Perfect.
Now, Shannon Ostedo. Shannon is a ray of hope. She's been volunteering with Hope House and their event Hope in the Street for the last 5 years. Who's gone to Hope House? Who's gone to Hope House? To donate, right? Come on. And who's gone to Hope in the Street? Isn't that an awesome event? So good. Now, she's been the chair for the past 5 years and successfully really pivoted, especially over COVID, online for that event as well. Through her volunteer service with Hope House, she is really serving the vulnerable people in our city. And Hope in the Street event is a key fundraiser for food programs, community services, and health programs, and Shannon leads an organizing committee of about 9 to 10 volunteers, which arranges multiple music and food vendors, along with other organizations to bring the community together for this important annual event for a good cause. Shannon brings her entrepreneurial spirit as well as her upbeat approach to the Hope in the Street event, which raises tens of thousands of dollars for Hope House each year. So congratulations, Shannon. Please come on up here. Thank you for all you do.
Congratulations. Give it up for everyone.
Never asked my band to come and play there. Just want to make you know that. Probably because they want to make money. All right. Last is Drew Shaw. A lot of you may already recognize Drew because he's everywhere in our community. A Guelphite since 2016. Drew has been a busy bee volunteering with various Guelph community and nonprofit organizations. Now here we go. This is a long one. During the pandemic, Drew volunteered as a project manager to raise funds for Ontario hospitals and food banks, including the Guelph General Hospital and the Guelph Food Bank, raising about $65,000. During this time, Drew also volunteered with the Children's Foundation of Guelph and Wellington to support the school nutrition program. Drew also served as a voluntary president and treasurer with the Hindu Society of Guelph from 2019 to 2022. And since 2021, Drew's been volunteering at Sunday Table, where more than 100 people line up to receive some free meals and groceries. In 2022, he served as the volunteer stage manager at the Guelph and District Multicultural Festival, where he coordinated more than 60 performances from diverse cultural groups. In that same year, because he's not busy enough, he started volunteering with Hope House. He continues to volunteer at Hope House, the food market specifically to provide free groceries to low-income families, and was recently appointed to as a member of the board of directors of Hope House. Drew also volunteers with planting trees. Daniel, you said you wanted to plant some trees? There's your guy. Don't even call me. Go to that guy right there. Are we awake yet this morning? Okay. Drew also volunteers planting trees, helping with the annual spring community cleanup and community focus groups. My goodness, Drew, you're just getting started, aren't you? Yeah, let's give it up for Drew, everybody.
Thank you, Vin. Yeah, you're welcome. Wonderful. Awesome. Thank you, Vin.
Now, I want everyone to clap even louder because there's another special thing about Drew. It's his 21st wedding anniversary today. Is that awesome? Good for you. That's the biggest accomplishment right there, right? Good for you. That's awesome. Okay. Those are always good ways to start off our day together. So thank you again for joining me today, and I'd like to start by just acknowledging a few people. My council colleagues have already been acknowledged, so thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of Team Guelph. It's awesome. And I'd like to just also make sure that I recognize the City of Guelph executive team that's here. Thank you to CAO Scott Stewart, Deputy CAOs Colleen Clackbush, Jane Holmes, and Trevor Lee. And just taking a moment here, I especially really want to thank CAO Scott Stewart for his leadership and support over the last 9 years. And I also want to acknowledge that it was just announced a little while ago that Steve Kraft, the CEO of the Guelph Public Library, who's been working for 41 years has served last 9, I believe, as the CEO, and is retiring as well. And so speaking of retirements, you may have heard our CAO, Scott Stewart, has announced his retirement from the city of Guelph. And Scott, you and I have seen eye to eye on many things, not all, but many, except, of course, your desire to see the Toronto Maple Leafs win a Stanley Cup. But Scott actually started in the city several years ago with his role as the Deputy CAO of Infrastructure, Development and Enterprise, and then since 2019, he then went into the role of our CAO. And he really helped set the direction for Guelph to become a more modern and effective city. And I cannot tell you, this is the stuff that people don't see. The leadership through the pandemic of trying to kind of run a city on the administration side was unbelievable, and you and your team did such a great job. One of Scott's parting gifts to us was his oversight on the strategic plan, and this plan will actually help guide our city even when Scott departs at some point this year. So Scott, thank you so much. Sincerely, thank you very, very much for all that you've done for our city, for councils, for me personally. And I want to actually ask you to come up on this stage for a second. So this is for you, Scott. Thank you for your 9 years of service and contributions to the city of Guelph from both mayor and council. So thank you very much, Scott. Well, for today's continuing in the acknowledgements of some people in the room here, again, Mike Schreiner, thank you for being here today. That's awesome. And thank you for my friends at the University of Guelph, including President and Vice Chancellor Dr. Charlotte Yates, great team player for our city. And I want to thank, of course, the sponsors, Chamber Shakiba, my friend. Thank you for all that you do in your contributions for our city. And a big thank you to the Chamber staff who have organized this whole event as well. And to the Delta for providing a great breakfast too. Thank you. And of course, I could not do this without support from my family. And so Rachel and our kids, Anakin and Adelaide. Anakin, you made it. Good job, buddy. Yeah. And my parents, Frank and Karen. And speaking of anniversaries, it's coming up in August, but man, I'm the luckiest guy. I have a 25-year wedding anniversary coming up with Rachel. She really runs the city, everybody, by the way. So for today's State of the City, I'm going to focus on facts. My goal is to be clear and to clear the air of disinformation and misinformation, because there's way too much of that nowadays. So we need to be grounded in the truth about what's occurring, what's transpiring, and about where we're going. I'm going to speak as plainly and as firmly as possible today. And as I move through my update, I will share truths and data so that at the end of the day, you too can be armed with the facts. First, I'm going to focus on 2 topics that I believe were the top issues for the community in 2023 and will continue to be the top 2 moving into 2024. And with no surprise to anybody, they will be number 1, housing, and number 2, affordability. And I will also then share some highlights of what has been accomplished in 2023. And finally, I will discuss where I believe our focus needs to be, not only for 2024, but as we move into the rest of this term. As always, after my formal presentation, I'm absolutely fine to answer any questions that you might have. So let's get started. The housing crisis. You won't be surprised to know that housing is top of mind for me every single day and almost every single thing that I do. And to cover this topic, I must talk about the facts of what the full housing continuum is. On the left side of this continuum are individuals and families who are in crisis and who are in emergency shelters or experiencing homelessness. In the middle are independent renters who pay their rent with assistance, and on the right side are independent renters or homeowners. The right side is often referred to as market housing, and the left side is often referred to as social housing. In Guelph, we are responsible for the right side of the continuum. In no way, though, does that mean that we ignore the left side. But legislatively, we focus on the right side. So let me start by talking about market housing in Guelph. Let me paint a picture for you. You're looking to buy a home in Guelph in 2023. You have a household income of $82,559, which is the average household income after taxes according to CMHC. What can you afford when, according to the Guelph and District Realtors Association, the benchmark price for a single-family home in Guelph in December of 2023 is $892,800. The benchmark price for a townhouse is $656,000, and a condo is about $535,000. According to Nesto.ca, you would need a household income of $163,833 to afford that almost $800,000 home in Guelph, and your mortgage payment would be $4,436 with a 25-year mortgage. Now, is rental better? Well, not likely, given that Guelph's currently ranked 9th nationally as the most expensive for one-bedroom rentals, according to rentals.ca. The average price for a one-bedroom unit in Guelph is now $2,078, and a two-bedroom is $2,361. When comparing year-over-year data from 2022 to 2023, the average monthly rent in the city has gone up 1.4% for a one-bedroom and almost hitting 2% for a two-bedroom apartment. But to really understand what those numbers mean to people, I do want to tell you a few stories. An individual shared this story with me on social media. They told me they make a base annual wage of $60,000, and with a couple bonuses, they make it up to about $70,000. They've paid off their car, they have very little debt. Currently, they're renting a 500 square foot apartment for over $1,600 a month. And the reality is, with all of the other pressures, it is just barely enough to get by in this economy. It's almost impossible to save money because after paying for rent and utilities and everything else that they have basically nothing left, and they fear becoming homeless. Why is someone that makes almost $70,000 a year worried about becoming homeless? If they can't make it work, how can someone who makes minimum wage in this community make it work? How will young people afford to move out of their family homes and start their lives? I recently spoke to a family who was actually in their home, who was paying $1,700 a month for a rental. Their landlord rent evicted them. They had to stay in the same area because they had 5 kids. One of their kids, by the way, had special needs. The kids had to go to the same school in that area, so they had to find a place in the same area. They moved 50 yards down the street in the same townhouse complex, and now they're paying $2,700. That's a $1,000 per month increase. But sadly, that's not the only story. I recently heard from an individual through a popular Guelph housing Facebook page. She noted that one person was renting mattresses on the floor rather than actual rooms at $520 per month. In one instance, 17 people were living in a 3-bedroom apartment. That is 17 people, probably students, who paid in good faith, have no other choice. This is completely unsafe. It clearly shows a struggle when this is all they can do to get a roof over their head. And by the way, there are some bad tenants in this world too. So these stories, all those, I'm highlighting some of them, like rent evictions and such. There is another side of this story. Landlords are experiencing some hardships too, and I want to fully acknowledge that. In January 2023, close to 30 students lined up in the cold just to see a possible basement rental unit. The woman who shared this story on X explained her daughter had gone to see 10 rentals that day and had no success in finding anything under $1,000 a month for one bedroom. These are the facts. This is the data. This is the reality of what people are facing. And so what's being done? For one, The University of Guelph is developing a student housing strategy to support students in securing safe and affordable housing both on campus and within the community. 532 residential units are coming to a property directly across from the University of Guelph at Stone Road and Gordon. And although it's not officially designated as student housing and zoning, I'm certain it will basically go to most people that are students and now have a safe walking distance right across the street to the University of Guelph. The Elma project, which converted a former Holiday Inn on Scottsdale Drive into purpose-built student rental housing, that same developer is looking to bring forward another application for even more housing there. So that's some good news. Now here's some really good news about what the city has done. In 2023, the city issued 1,320 building permits for new residential units, which is the highest number since 2016. The construction value of these permits is just over $841 million. For comparison, in 2022, the city issued 1,181 building permits for new residential units, with only $587 million of value. Over 2,230 site-specific units were approved by council in 2023, compared to 1,922 in 2022. These numbers do not lie. We are making progress. And I'm also happy to report that city staff processed 100% of site plan applications in 2023 within the 60-day legislative timeline. The average number of days to process site plan applications decreased from 128 days to 26. Let me say that again. It decreased from 128 days in 2022 to 26 in 2023. The average number of days to process zoning bylaw applications decreased from 209 in 2022 to 49 in 2023. And this is due to a lot of the continuous improvement activities that we've implemented in 22 coming into 2023. And the city is also speeding up application reviews through several changes. We are digitizing building records for quicker review. We are now allowing not just 3 units as of right, but 4 units as of right in the city. Upzoning properties to allow mixed use. This means, for example, some of these strip mall areas that are in the city will automatically be allowed to upzone for residential. Giving delegated authority away from council and giving it to staff. So developers and applicants don't have to come to council and the delegated authority can be left with staff. That's happening. We're updating all of our permitting software. We've hired 2 new people in housing to help with both ends of the continuum that I showed on the screen there earlier. And we're also unlocking future growth areas. Here's what we've been doing in 2023 to make sites ready for more housing. In downtown Guelph, we completed servicing studies. We're getting infrastructure in place for the Guelph Innovation District, and by phasing in a lot of the construction on York Road. I know everyone in the city loves the construction on York Road, but it has to happen. The pipes have to be changed. The pipes have to be bigger. That's the infrastructure that's needed for that area. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the Federal Housing Accelerator Fund. Throughout 2023, we worked tirelessly, especially staff, to submit an application to the Housing Accelerator Fund. And I'm thrilled to tell you that just less than a month ago, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau joined us in Guelph to announce that we received $21.4 million to help with giving incentives for the creation of over 739 new housing units above the city average over the next 3 years. And this funding will help reduce housing barriers, increase housing in Guelph, while supporting the development of affordable, inclusive, equitable, and diverse communities. City Council continues to be supportive of more residential housing in Guelph. Council's voting record on housing developments shows this to be true. How many staff recommendations, motions, and amendments related to housing do you think Council voted on in 2023? You saw all those continue to go up on the screen. So here are the facts for 2023. Council voted on 76 housing-related items. We voted on 13 staff recommendations and council motions specifically related to homelessness. We passed 11 zoning bylaw and official plan amendments, and all of them except for 2 were approved unanimously by council. We held 6 special council meetings specifically related to housing and homelessness. And all of this work aligns with that commitment of Guelph's housing pledge for Guelph by Guelph, is what we call it, which council approved in February of 2023. We are committed to facilitating the construction of 18,000 new homes by 2031. The reality is that the housing target is not just for the city to achieve. It requires support from the province, the development community, public agencies, and partners. And so to reach the province's mandated target of 18,000 new homes by 2031, the city needs developers to build about 1,974 units a year. Let's just call it 2,000. This number is about 400 units more than the highest ever done in the last 20 years in the city of Guelph. The province did modify these targets in October, and for 2023, our annual housing target was 1,320 units, which was exactly the number of units we gave permits for. Exactly. Now, for 2024 though, our target is higher, it's 1,500 units. This increase in supply is dearly needed, and that means all types of housing. This couldn't be clearer, especially this week, with what was stated by the Bank of Canada. Just take a look at the screen here.
However, has been elevated for several years now, and has increased further in the last 6 months. It's now the biggest contributor to above target inflation. Now, this partly reflects the impact of increases in our policy rate on mortgage interest costs. But high shelter cost inflation also reflects the increases in rents and other housing costs, which are more related to the structural shortage of housing that I mentioned earlier.
Right there.
This is not something monetary policy can fix. But it is something we need to understand and factor into monetary policy, because it's affecting the cost of living of Canadians. Shelter price.
So what's happened there is that the Bank of Canada just basically, I'll just say it very clearly, it's the structural shortage of supply of homes that is the biggest problem. And no monetary policy of interest rates going up or down is going to really help with this issue, because the structural problem of us not building enough homes is going to be the thing that's hurting us the most. Okay, so when people say, oh, it's not a supply problem, that they're wrong. They're wrong. And we need to make sure that they know that, because they're wrong. So as much as our city brings clarity to housing processes, or our city brings speeding up delivery of housing, the fact still remains we're missing clarity from the provincial government. I don't mean to, attack here. I'm a mayor. I think people know I praise when praise is warranted, and I will critique when critique is warranted. But last year was fraught with changes to provincial housing legislation. And I hear that, including coming from the development industry. They will openly admit that. And I just want to say, though, I do see positive steps on the horizon with our new minister, Minister Calandra, as the new housing minister. I really do. And I'm very optimistic that our governments can work together to ensure more affordable housing for Guelphites. In a couple weeks, Guelph, along with many other municipalities across the province, are awaiting potential legislative changes that may bring about clarity that both city planning departments and the development community require to get shovels in the ground. Here's a fact. Cities approve housing. Developers, both private and nonprofit, they build them. Let me say that again. Cities approve housing. It is the development community, both private and nonprofit, that build them. So we've done a lot of things to make things faster, but we are not done yet. I want to talk a little bit now about the left side of the housing continuum, and I know I said earlier that's maybe not something that we are ultimately and fully responsible for, but this is so important for our community to get an update on. So I really appreciate the County of Wellington sharing this information with me so that I can lay out the facts for all of you, because it's such a top of mind issue. So here we go, here are the facts. As of December, there are a total of 173 people on the by name list in Guelph, Wellington. The by name list is a real-time, up-to-date list of people known to be experiencing chronic homelessness. In our community, that can be made up of adults, families, and youth, including Indigenous community members, and we're starting to see an uptick of asylum claimants. The County of Wellington, who is the contracted provincial social services provider for homelessness programs for both the county and in Guelph, they have an inventory of 108 emergency shelter beds, 13 emergency shelter rooms, 70 supportive and transitional housing units. But this does not even include the 24 additional emergency shelter beds and the 40 new transitional units and 32 supportive units slated for 2024. If there's one line to take away today on this topic, it's this next one. Sadly, there are more people in need than there are available beds. The tragedy is unfolding before our eyes, and our bylaw team saw an average of 10 encampments throughout 2022, which is rising to an average of 20 now, as of today. These are real people that need help, and no one should have to live in a tent outside. No one. According to the county, the average number of unique individuals accessing emergency shelters has risen from 52 in 2018 to 79 in 2022. And the data collected between January and June of last year shows 105 individuals now trying to access emergency shelters on a nightly basis. Sadly, the complex issue of homelessness is often closely linked to mental health and addiction struggles. In 2023, Guelph had 27 drug-related fatalities, up from 22 the previous year. There were 428 instances where a serious drug-related reaction occurred, often requiring medical intervention. The year 2023 saw the highest numbers of fatalities since the information began being tracked in 2019. These are not numbers. These are people. These are lives that have been lost to drug poisoning and members of our community who were loved and are now being missed. We, and me as well, we're the lucky ones. We get to come home to a warm, comfortable house every night. I have visited these encampments. I have talked to these people living in crisis. And I hear their stories and it breaks my heart. I want you to understand that these struggles are very real. I'm sharing today with you now, not just my words, but their words. I want you to please listen. This is audio only. I want you to listen to an account from someone that lives at the supportive housing Belleville House here in Guelph.
What was it like before you came to Bellevue?
It was cold, hard to find food.
What was it like before you came to Bellevue?
It was cold, hard to find food. It was hard to find food and really not enjoyable because I never knew what was going to happen from day to day, and a lot of the time it was just a bunch of running around, jumping through dumpsters, trying to get things and buy things with things I find in the trash.
What has your experience been at Bellevue?
My experience at Bellevue has been great. I love to play basketball all the time. I've made so many friends. I've learned so much. I've learned how to cook and how to clean, and I go to the bank all the time, and I actually learned how to do everyday things that people have to do in their ordinary lives. And it's a great place, it's welcoming, it's warm, and I like to see the smile on the staff's face every day. So it's been great. Yeah.
What are your wishes for the future?
I want to be an avionics technician. I want to finish my schooling at New Way, which is connected to Wyndham House in Bellevue. And I want to graduate, and I want to find my own place to live, which all of that can be accomplished through Bellevue. And yeah. All of that can be accomplished through Bellevue.
Hearing about someone's journey from living on the street to having a safe place to call home shows that our supportive housing projects are working. Now, the City of Guelph provides about $17 million a year of base funding to the County of Wellington every year to fund Guelph's share of that provincially legislated social housing services, including those emergency shelters and transitional housing. Here's a fact. The City of Guelph is now contributing annually about $4.6 million more on housing initiatives under the County of Wellington's oversight. Let me repeat that. When I hear people say we're not doing anything, we are now providing over $4 million more in base funding every year, moving forward. Currently, the city is also providing $495,000 in annual base funding to run the Wyndham House Youth Shelter, along with providing property rent-free, about $710,000 of annual funding for other related services like welcoming streets and their current extensions of daytime shelter hours. We provided the County of Wellington with the Delhi Street property to build transitional housing in Guelph with an equivalent value of $1.4 million, and in July, the county will open 28 transitional housing units at this location. In October, a motion to create a coordinated encampment response team was passed unanimously by Council, and in November, $100,000 was approved in the budget to accommodate emergency expenses related to those living in encampments. Council also committed $500,000 in matching funds for the Home for Good campaign, which is providing capital funding for Grace Gardens, Bellevue Supportive Housing, and the Kindle Supportive Housing. This investment turned into $1 million due to the community donations. So thank you, Guelph. Give yourselves a huge round of applause for turning $500,000 into $1 million. The city and county, along with community partners, are committed to a human rights-based approach to housing and a coordinated response to support of individuals experiencing homelessness. We recognize that encampment response is pivotal to increase the success for those that need to get into shelters. And I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about the impact of some of these issues that are having in our downtown core, for especially our business sector. And so I'm going to ask Patricia here, do you think the video is going to work this time? I got 2 thumbs up and crossing of fingers. I would like to remind everybody, it just happened to be me. It doesn't matter if it was me or not. It just happened to be me. This is what we said in June 2022. It was riveting.
Chair of the Ontario Big City Mayor's Caucus of Ontario, just for a little bit of perspective on that, the 29 mayors that represent the caucus, we really represent about 70% of the population of Ontario. And so we have collectively been moving several pieces through our caucus to advocate for changes for our municipalities across the province. And specifically, over the last couple of months, one of the main pieces that we've been discussing is our ask for an emergency and urgent meeting with the government in regards to homelessness, mental health, and addictions that is at a crisis point within our cities. And the intersection of that, not only helping the individuals that are experiencing those things, but also with the businesses, especially in our downtown cores, in our main streets, where those things are causing a lot of friction amongst even the business community, tourism. Of course, again, we want help for the most vulnerable that are experiencing these issues as well. We are disappointed that so far we have not had a formal response from the government in regards to having this emergency meeting. And as I said, it's been now 2 months, the anniversary of 2 months, without that coming to fruition. We are encouraged that there has been some conversation here at the annual conference in regards to trying to get that together. And I think it's important as well that not only are the mayors here and the others that aren't here that are united around this issue, but the coalition has now been growing over the last couple of months. The Ontario Chamber of Commerce, the Ontario Chiefs of Police, the Ontario BIA Association, the Ontario Mental Health Association, and I could go on with others. The Ontario Tourism Industry Association has now joined the coalition in regards to coming together to really address this urgent issue. So we're hoping that the government really does take this seriously. It was serious 2 months ago, and it's serious today, and it's getting worse. And we want to make sure that we're at the table with all those stakeholders together trying to find solutions in regards to these issues for our most vulnerable. And I just want to add a thing is that cities are not structurally made up to be able to respond to these healthcare issues that is under the jurisdiction of the province of Ontario. And so the weight of these issues hitting our cities has become very problematic. We're not structured on the staffing side, and we're not structured on the financing side of this issue at all. This is a healthcare issue, and we need the province to make sure that they are stepping up to help immediately.
June 2022 is what we said. I mean, again, it doesn't matter that it was me, but June 2022, we said that. And I'm sorry, but cities aren't getting help. Like at all. Just being blunt. No notes on this one. Shooting from the hip cam you got right now. We passed a motion in May of 2022 asking for an emergency meeting, and they tried to do a check mark on it, I would say, in basically May of 2023. So it took a year for that emergency meeting to actually come to fruition. And then we asked them, we gave them a few months. We said, could you please help us with something you can tell us in August at the next conference? So we gave them a few months. Nothing. Nothing. And now look at what every city is experiencing. So when we often hear you're not doing anything, you're not raising advocacy, you're not doing anything, here's the facts. You got 29 mayors of the biggest cities of Ontario saying, we got a problem in 2022. So that's the facts, and now I'm going back to my notes. So I'm happy to tell you, but from our side, 3 housing developments are opening up. Grace Gardens, which is 32 permanent supportive housing units. The Bellevue project, which added 8 more units specifically for youth. I can't forget about St. Joseph's Housing as well, 65 government-funded affordable housing units for seniors. And the Kindle project, that's located at 10 Shelldale Crescent, is ready to open like within weeks, and that will have another 32 beds being added. Now, just last week, the county held the Wellington Guelph Health and Housing Symposium to discuss the situation in our region and to have people try to develop solutions. The housing crisis is not something the city of Guelph can tackle alone. This is not just a city's problem, it is a collective problem. And we all need other levels of government, community partners, developers, nonprofits, charities, and individuals to all help us try to solve it. Now look, I have to recognize, and there's some in the room here, that are key stakeholders locally that are moving the needle on this. I want to highlight this amazing work that's being done to tackle housing and homelessness. So Mark Walton is the new president and CEO of Guelph General Hospital, who is advocating for supportive housing. The amazing local organizations, including the United Way of Guelph Wellington Dufferin, the Guelph Community Foundation, the Guelph Wellington Task Force for Poverty Elimination, who work together on the Home for Good campaign. Give them a round of applause. It's still going on, and it's such a big thing. Skyline, SkyDev for donating the land and a lot of their staffing time to actually help with that 10 Shelldale Kindle project. Are they here? Yes. Thank you. Thank you. That's the private sector stepping up into this space. And what they've done is having a ripple effect. Other private sector, oh, maybe we could do that. Yeah, you can do that. Please do that. Okay? The Downtown Business Association raised $29,000 for the Home for Good campaign. And I really want to congratulate the DGBA this last year. It's a brand new board. They are working really well, and I have never seen, ever, the amazing events and things that are happening in our downtown core. It is a game changer. Let's give the DGBA a huge round of applause. I also want to recognize a new group called the Friends of Guelph 2.0, I call them, which consists of Michael Saligo and Dave Bullock from RWDI, Jim Jarrell from Linamar, Gord Barr from RLB, Stu Lang from the University of Guelph, Jaya James from Hope House, and Sam Sobera from Sobera Law. This local group is focused on advocating for housing, affordable working class housing. Totally not in our community, and they've laser focused on this need, and they're advocating and being champions for that, and we need to rally around them. Let's give them a round of applause as well. So all this amazing work shows that we can all collaborate and work together on this issue. And so when it comes to working with the county, I have one more thing that I want to share with you. It's new. It's a new announcement here. One of the top priorities that I had when I was elected was to restore and rebuild relationships. And I'm pleased to say that in the coming weeks, we're going to reset the Social Services Committee to now include 4 members from County Council and 4 members from Guelph City Council. Yes, please. Thank you, Liz Sandals. We're starting to clap there. I didn't see you till now. Thank you. This will reset the committee to what it used to be years ago, before I was even mayor. This renewed relationship is thanks to the positive collaboration with Warden Lennox and the County CAO, Scott Wilson, and our CAO, Scott Stewart. And I really think this is going to be a game changer for our community. Repairing and restoring relationships will get our community a lot further down the road together than being separate. So this is a wonderful announcement, and I'm looking forward to my council colleagues agreeing by voting yes to this in the next little while. I want to also give a little bit of a shout out here for the public space use bylaw that is coming forward next week. And we're trying to find a balanced and responsible way of trying to make our public spaces safe for all. And so we're going to have a conversation about that next week. I want to turn my attention now to some highlights from 2023. And I'll just kind of go right through these for everybody. So we had a strategic plan that was approved by council in 2023. We also broke ground on the library and the Baker Street redevelopment site. That will have the library and the underground parking garage in the public square, turning an underperforming asset, parking lot, into a performing asset for our city. We also in October broke ground at the future site of the highly anticipated South End Community Center. You'll be glad to know I was not operating that equipment. But this center will provide a much needed community space and recreation amenities in Guelph South End for people of all ages. My council colleagues, which makes sense, Ward 6, Kenny Chu and Dominique O'Rourke are sitting up there with me, and so that was a fun time. With respect to our economy, the city issued 1,570 business licenses in 2023, 1,560 in 2022, and 1,511 in 2021. This is showing steady increase over the years of our business sector. And we did our city's annual employment survey, which continues to increase the city's awareness of local business activity. The survey showed 29 new businesses opening up in Guelph, which increased a lot of the brick and mortar businesses to just over 3,500 in total now for our city. And as we recover from the impacts of COVID, Guelph's labor force continues to outperform many other cities across the country. In November and December, the Guelph Census Metropolitan Area, or the CMA as it's called, had the highest participation in employment rates in Canada and continues to outpace both provincial and national averages. The labor force statistics show that Guelph's unemployment rate is 4.7%, which is lower than both the provincial and the national average. Yeah. With respect to tourism, Guelph saw visitors from 19 countries come through the door. We shared 3,200 visitor information pamphlets with participants from over 20 conferences, large group gatherings, and sporting events, which means we're really becoming strong in recovery in the events that drive visitation and tourism and overnight stays in a hotel like this as an example to our community. And in partnership with the Guelph Chamber and Destination Marketing Guelph, we also saw the soft launch of our new visitor-facing brand, the tagline, "Gather Here," which after many hours of community collaboration is a testament to Guelph's strong spirit of working together and playing together. This launch took place alongside another also amazing announcement for our community. We will be welcoming the Grand Slam of Curling to our Seaman Center in the heart of downtown in January 2025. And I hope to see all of you there. Get the tickets for that. It will be really good time. And speaking of more announcements, in this coming year and hopefully further years, the Toronto Argonauts, the Canadian Football League team, is going to be returning to Guelph. The Grey Cup champions came back to do spring training and played at the University of Guelph, Guelph is a huge sports tourism draw as well. I want to also turn my attention to public safety and policing now. Over the last several years, we've seen a significant improvement in our crime index ranking when compared to other cities in the country. Our ranking has gone from a low of 19th place in 2018 up to 12th place in 2022, and the 2023 numbers will not be released for several months, but I'm very hopeful that they'll continue this trend. We've also seen a significant improvement in our Priority 1 responses. Those times had a record high of 7 minutes and 12 seconds in 2019, down to 6 minutes and 6 seconds in 2022. This has been achieved even though our calls at the police have gone up significantly. Approximately 75,000 calls in 2019, but now they're experiencing 85,000 calls a year. Our GPS also increased service levels in important areas like our break and enter auto theft team and for our downtown core. Some additional highlights as well, and this goes again to our team working inside City Hall a lot. The City of Guelph ranked as one of Waterloo area's top employers for a third year in a row. Guelph was the first municipality in Canada to earn corporate-wide energy management certification, and as part of this system, the city has had and continues to implement energy efficiency. Guelph's AAA financial credit rating was again confirmed and we are getting top marks from third-party credit rating organizations that indicates that we are clearly on the right track. We launched Guelph Greener Homes Initiative in 2023, helping people to get loans of up to $50,000 to help renovate their home to be more energy efficient. Guelph Transit increased frequency on 4 routes. Guelph built over 13 kilometers of new bicycle facilities. 2.7 kilometers of that were protected bike lanes. We're thrilled to announce Conestoga College is coming to our downtown core. Council moved to adopt a refreshed and renewed territorial acknowledgement. And the Seniors Association of Guelph, Wellington, Waterloo is looking to implement surveys for older adults in our region And that data will help the city as we move forward to have a healthier and age-friendly city. So guess what? The hospital often comes up. And for those of you that ever hear me talk about the hospital, I usually say 2 words. That's provincial. However, there's a big connection to us too. I want to thank the hospital for sharing some information with me today. Working with the City of Guelph paramedics, the hospital was able to reduce its ambulance offload times by almost 85% last year. That is incredible work. Yeah, incredible. 4 years ago, City Council, the city, we agreed to dedicate a hospital levy on your taxes to go towards the hospital for 3 specific projects. One was an emergency room upgrade and the triage upgrade. One was more mental health beds, and the third one was for a special care nursery. And I'm really pleased to say that the special care nursery is now open, and that will help with world-class care for our tiniest patients. And moving into 2024, the hospital will now see the groundbreaking of the new emergency room department and triage. And this will help make access much better for everybody. Now I want to get to affordability. Aside from housing, all that other topics that happened, the 2024 budget saw an 8.52% property tax increase for homeowners in 2024, with a projected almost 10% increase in 2025, over 8% in 2026, and 7.35% in 2027. This budget was made especially difficult in 2023 due to inflation, some high interest rates, population growth, ongoing effects of the pandemic, and so on. And there is also a mismatch between the services we as a municipality do and the ability for municipalities to pay for them. It was just released from the Association of Municipalities of Ontario that current cost-sharing agreements mean currently about $4 billion a year are saddled to municipal property tax revenues to go to things that should be under the provincial jurisdiction. So I am very much in favor of the advocacy work AMO is doing along with my mayoral colleagues across the province in trying to get this rectified. And in 2023, we all had changes to housing. It's reduced some of the money that communities could collect on development charges. We've been fortunate to receive $53.3 million worth of grants, however, from both the federal and the provincial government, and we thank them for it. And according to our city's intergovernmental team, this happened between January 2023 and January 2024, so basically 1 year, $53 million. Look, as my dad taught me, there's only one wallet, but the burden on property taxes is the worst. So that's really thankful to the upper levels of government. So heading into 2024, I really want to focus my energy, and it shouldn't be a surprise to anyone, on creating more housing, working with the county on tackling homelessness, and ensuring that I do everything that I can possibly do to help with affordability for Guelphites. Have you ever changed your mind on something?
Yes.
Thank you. It'd be disingenuous to suggest otherwise. Politicians change their minds on things too. I have changed my mind on many things. Some people will call it flip-flopping in the politics world. Unless, of course, you're flip-flopping to the position the other person had, then it's like, oh, they finally saw the light of day, something like that. Sometimes you change your mind because it's new information, right? Or in council chambers, as an example, a delegate will come up and speak something, and you're like, oh, that makes sense. You change your mind. Sometimes it's just how you see other people deal with situations. You change your mind. So over the Christmas and holiday season, I took some time, a lot of time, to listen to what people in Guelph are experiencing. And let me tell you, the number one thing, this shouldn't be a shock to anyone, the number one thing is affordability. I see a lot of heads nodding in the room. Second, and closely aligned to that first, is housing. The two are linked, affordability and housing. And I asked for people's stories, and most shared how they are on the brink of not being able to afford their homes or their apartments, that their businesses were about to go under, and that no longer was it 2 paychecks away from a problem, it's 1 paycheck away from a problem. As mayor, I have an obligation to be factual, and I have an obligation to thoughtfully consider what is under my control or in my toolbox to help people, especially when it comes to affordability and housing. It is abundantly clear to me that the citizens and businesses of Guelph cannot afford an almost 10% budget increase in the future. That is not okay. When cities are faced with strong issues, it requires a strong team to tackle them. However, to set the tone and the pace, you need a strong mayor. Therefore, effective today, I'm announcing that I will use the strong mayor powers throughout the rest of this term. First, I will be signing a mayoral order directing staff to establish the 2025 confirmation budget at a property tax impact rate at under 4%. With the budget confirmation occurring nearing the end of this year, I feel it's prudent, under these extraordinary circumstances, to set this goal early in this year, to allow for a long runway for staff to follow this direction, and for myself and council to be hyper aware of the spending decisions and the priorities that are ahead of us for this year. Now let me be very clear, this will mean very, very difficult conversations about how this may impact some city services that we're all used to, or plans even over the next few years. These impacts may be extremely difficult to accept, not only for council, not only for the community, they could also be hard on me too. But I'm giving these directions because I have high expectations for staff and council, and I am confident that you can reach them. I want these expectations to also apply and include to all outside agencies and boards that report into the City of Guelph with your own budgets. So you too can choose to join in on what I believe is our collective responsibility to bring about affordability to our community. I look forward to hearing from you and working with each of you on how we can achieve this. Secondly, I will be issuing a mayoral order to direct staff to work on identifying strategic real estate partnerships on underutilized city-owned assets, specifically focusing on city-owned surface parking lots that can be transformed into housing for our community. And third, I will be using the strong mayor powers to direct staff to present to council the logistics required to provide temporary, structured encampment sites for those that are currently experiencing homelessness in our community. To be clear, this directive will ask for potential sites, identify potential funding, including the option for community fundraising, because I have heard from the community that there are businesses and individuals that would love to actually be a part of a project like that. It will have to give information on the purchase of tiny homes and include a discussion on what city services can be provided. This mayoral directive will be contingent, of course, upon partners with the county, local healthcare providers, and stakeholders committing to the required ongoing supports for those that would be using this potential site. Now, I know that what I just said may surprise some of you. Please know that choosing to use the strong mayor powers was not easy, but I am using the tools at my disposal to accelerate solutions during these trying times, and I am at peace with this decision. Why? Because these decisions will not change who I am. I am still committed to working alongside everyone. I am still the same Cam. But as your mayor, I am confident this is the right thing to do. So thank you very much for being here today. I'm happy to take any questions. Have a good rest of the day.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Cam. Those are some big pieces of information and new to most people in the room, so we'll take a second to digest that, and we'll open it up to questions from the floor. I have a couple myself, so please indulge me with mine. Off the top, I think it's important to know that we regularly, both you and I, speak to people day in and day out, and people are struggling, personally, professionally, and so I'm wondering, Cam, how are you doing?
Oh. I'm going to need you to come out and give me some counseling. Thank you for that. I'm doing okay. I do, you know, it's a tough go right now, and I'm not saying that in any way of a victim mentality. I'm up to this job every day. I would just say, you know, thank goodness I have the grounding of my family. That is the best part. It is the stories that I kind of talked about and touched on in my speech today that are really impacting me on, I think, how I'm leading now. That I would have to be thinking of the collective good around affordability and housing, and so and I'm doing good. I really appreciate that, and that you asked me that. I thank you. Yeah, I'm doing okay.
Good. It's important for us to have a sense of what matters to you and what's guiding your decisions and your vision forward. And so using strong mayor powers is quite an impactful and significant tool. It's one of many tools at our disposal. Another key factor in how we accomplish things in our community is obviously through the work that happens by city staff and administration. And so we recognized the recent news of the retirement of CAO Scott Stewart. So the question I have for you as well is, what are you looking for in our next CAO?
I don't know. Well, let me pull up my list. Yes. Do you like long walks on the beach? I would say, well, first of all, we have a committee that is going to be set up to make sure that we are casting the net wide, to make sure that we have a process in place where the committee will then kind of hone and filter down to recommendations. And, you know, I think that our guiding star really is our strategic plan that was approved last year. So feeding into that strategic plan is going to be really important. And, you know, personally, you know, it wouldn't be a surprise if my position would be housing and affordability. That shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. I don't think it would be a surprise to anyone on the committee or anybody else. So those would be the two key factors that I would be looking for.
So I hope folks have some questions ready from the floor. I did want to take advantage of the opportunity to flag that just yesterday the Ontario Chamber of Commerce launched their annual economic report. And the figures on economic outlook for business aren't great. Even peak pandemic, the figures we have out now are much lower. About 13% of businesses across Ontario have confidence in on the economic outlook of our communities. And so I'm wondering, you know, based on even what these new directives your mayoral powers have put forward, how can you connect for folks the idea of, you know, why those kinds of decisions might benefit and create better conditions and increase confidence for business in our community?
Well, we'll say the two interfacing, sort of front-facing departments, I guess I would say, mostly from a business perspective, would be our economic development department and then sort of the planning and building department. And I just want to say, like, I'm continuing to hear positive stories from my interaction from staff to the people that they're trying to serve. Like under the leadership of Krista Walkie, in planning, James here from economic development, James. You know, they're doing really good work, and I hear it from others, right? So it's important for me to say that those stories are real because I'm the conduit telling them to you now. I will say being hyper-focused though on customer service and all that we do is also something that is really important to me, because that's where people feel that they get the value of the taxes they pay. So they want to have the sense of that they're getting that value for what they're putting into it. So we're going to have to continue to always hone and craft and figure out different ways of doing some things, because no business, no institution, no individual should also be resting on status quo ever. And so I would expect that we would just continue to do what we're doing and making sure that we are meeting, you know, certain criteria, certain goals, and certain targets, so that it's trackable and then we're accountable to it.
Questions from the floor? Don't be shy.
addressing housing is a key issue within the city, and I think the city, your administration has done a great job in terms of permits. So that's one end of the spectrum in terms of key performance indicators, from permit granting through to housing starts and ultimately housing completion. Do you believe or data support any systemic or infrastructural issues in terms of the lag between those two events?
Yeah, so the question, just in case people are watching online, was, you know, if city staff or if council, if City Hall, let's say it that way, is kind of doing their job, but then there's this lag between a shovel in the ground, is there anything that is under our umbrella, if I could call it that way, from an infrastructure point of view, that is causing sort of that gapping, that lag? So there are capacity issues, strictly for infrastructure, there are capacity issues in the system. That's why we do have plans in actually addressing those issues, and they're all laid out in our future capital plans. Is there ways that we can accelerate them? Is there technology or are there different engineering positions that could be used to try to accommodate getting those things done faster? Of course, and we're always open to that conversation. But yeah, there are capacity issues, but millions of dollars have been earmarked to actually help with that. One of the other things too is that, you know, if the city meets our housing targets, the province will actually reward the city with about $15 million. And so where that $15 million could go could help to unlock more housing on the infrastructure gap side and that capacity side. And I would also suggest as well that the province did make some announcements a little while ago. It's clearly not enough, but I think it was about $200 million in regard to water and wastewater infrastructure gaps that cities are experiencing. But I have a feeling most of that will go to a lot of smaller cities where there's huge water and wastewater issues. So there are identified those issues in our city. I would say the two ones, just to wrap up this answer, would be the downtown core and also in the East End, the Guelph Innovation District lands. But again, those have been identified in the budget to attack to get those infrastructure gaps done, to unlock more housing.
Thanks. We all love our city. I think it's like, how do we help? So I'm speaking today on behalf of Rotary. So there's, you know, many great Rotarians in this room. And so we're all kind of in our silos, and I love the hearing like who's doing and the impact that other groups are doing. One note I made is like, how do we bring all of our Rotarians together to make this one unique issue? We've done it with Food for Kids, we've done it with other things. But how do we do it for homelessness? And you know, where do I start to bring those Rotarians together? They all have massive hearts. They're all leaders. So, and how do we all, as community members? I'm a downtown homeowner. So how and where do we start? And how collectively are we working together? And I know the community foundation's doing things. So like, yeah.
Yeah, thanks for that. So. Okay, off the top of my head, I would say 3 things that each individual can choose to do. The first one is really easy. Start talking positively about how helping with homelessness. And don't create stigma or make people not feel like they don't have any dignity for those that are experiencing homelessness. So that's our words. So the first thing we can do as a community is how we speak about this issue is about our words. The second one would be just volunteerism. It might not be monetary, that's the third. The second one would be just, can you volunteer for any of the type of organizations within the city that are trying to help in this space? The third is going to be funding. It absolutely is. And I've seen communities rally around this, around an actual target, a project that can be done, and it comes together. And Guelph can do that, like 100% Guelph can do that. We've shown that in so many other areas, right? If you want to do immediate help right now, I would say do the Home for Good campaign. Because the Home for Good campaign, if you want to go to the website, it's homeforgoodgw.ca. They are still trying to raise the money that's needed for the 3 supportive housing projects that are happening in our city, with ongoing some funding through that. So they haven't gotten the total yet. So those are the 3 things. Speak positively about what we can do to help people, volunteer, and open your wallet.
And if I may, very quickly, that's an excellent question, and certainly the position for the Guelph Chamber of Commerce is, you know, we have a a role, and we have a network of incredible assets at the disposal of our city colleagues, our county colleagues. I would be remiss not to point out Warden Lennox and CAO Scott Wilson are in the room. So collectively together, there's a responsibility for us to come together to solve these complex problems, and we'll continue to be advocating to get more folks at the table. Any other questions? Yeah.
I'll go to you in a second, John, or I think someone, I don't know. Oh, Pina, go ahead.
Hi, Mr. Mayor. Businesses downtown are struggling. Clients are not coming downtown because they do not feel safe. We've closed 4 businesses on Quebec Street and one on the verge is closing in March. What are we going to do about the safety of our downtown core?
Yes, so for those that didn't hear the question, it was what about the safety of our downtown core? So we have made some significant investments in that, and I would say that there's really 2 streams of issues there. And I don't want to always relate some of the social issues to criminalization, so let's be very clear on that. But some of the social or behavioral issues cannot always be solved by policing. Well, you should all agree with that. So on the social side, we have investments in the Welcoming Streets Individuals program, which is free. We also, I think we're one of the first cities in Ontario to do this. We actually approved, the police board approved funding from the police to hire a mental health worker to go with the police officers in the downtown core. That's huge. Yeah, it's huge. And then we have the enforcement side. We have, and the chief can correct me if I'm wrong, but we did a pilot last year where we wanted to see if there would be an impact with another officer in the downtown. That became very clear that it was needed, and both in data, but also in a sense of better safety by just having that officer in the downtown. And now in the budget, there will be, am I right? Yep, 2 more officers dedicated to the downtown core. And so that will really help. And so I think we have bolstered with real dollars on both sides of that issues that people are experiencing in the downtown. But I will say that I mentioned it in the speech, the bylaw that's coming before us next week around safe public spaces. I really believe that we need to, as a community, adopt that and to support that because of the balanced approach that it brings. Because if we lose our downtown cores to these issues, they are the heartbeat of our cities. And just as you heard me say in June 2022 to that press conference that I did, the same thing applies today, but it's even worse. Lastly, I would just say, as you open the door, support our downtown businesses, please. Go down, it's fine, go down, okay? There's parking, by the way, go find parking, fine. Okay? You'll park at one end of Stonewall Mall and have no problem walking through the mall, park at one end of the street and walk to the story line. By the way, I love Stonewall Mall, sort of that. They have so many amazing stores and people down there, and events like I mentioned. So in trying times, we pull together as a community. There are trying times in our downtown core. Support the businesses. They have online options. They have delivery options. The services down there, the retail, the restaurants. It's wonderful, and we're going to make that place even better. But right now, they need you as well. So as we help with sort of homelessness issues and social issues, we got to help with our ma and pa and small and medium-sized businesses within our downtown core, which really rally around them and do that.
Yes, thanks, Cam. It's good to hear where your focus is going for the next year. It's a complicated thing running the city, and I appreciate where your focus is. There's lots of other things that we still have to do.
Oh, he's got a notepad.
The experience of other municipalities that investing in the trail industry, and 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 the trail return of $3 to $6 for every dollar spent, which the tourists, which the hospitality-related business benefits hospitality-related business. Trails are also important to employees as an amenity to attract and retain employees. There's a community group right now that is very active trying to connect the Guelph to Guthrie Trailway between Silver Creek and downtown Guelph. I am hoping that you can use your bully pulpit to make that happen by 2027.
Well, I like to restore relationships and repair relationships, not bully people. But I know exactly what you're talking about. Is the Guelph to Guthrie, sort of called the G2G Trail Connection, just so everyone could hear that question. And actually, you met with staff and myself and Councillor Downer and some others there just a couple weeks ago on that specific item. There was a council actual motion, I think late last year, that actually directed staff to work with the G2G group on that trail connection. The stats that John just mentioned about that type of tourism activity is real. Those are real stats that actually help with bringing in tourism and other opportunities, especially into our downtown core. So it was actually a good timing for your question. Bringing people in different modes of transportation or tourism events can actually help with bolstering the economic development within our downtown. You know what? My commitment is to try to do all areas of the city that need it, absolutely. But I'll just be blunt in the room. My commitment is going to be on affordability and on housing, because those are the two things that are at the top of the list for me. No, you don't get a second. Talk to me after. Talk to me after. Yes.
I know you mentioned briefly about hiring an additional 2 individuals that will be working with the police force in the mental health sector as far as that goes.
Yep.
Have you considered possibly expanding between partnerships between policing and nonprofits that are on the front lines daily with vulnerable individuals to be able, because a lot of individuals, and I speak on behalf of the populations that are homeless and stuff, there's such a stigma between homeless individuals and policing and stuff, so having individuals with nonprofit sectors would be of a benefit. What are some of the things that you're doing and want to continue to do to help strengthen that partnership?
Yeah, thank you. So the question was about partnerships, not just with policing, but with like nonprofits or other social sectors as well, especially with helping with vulnerable people, because there could be stigma around just police showing up on the scene in a uniform with a gun, right? So I totally get that. So I think I would just mention though the Welcoming Streets program with 3 individuals there. That is a direct connection with policing as well. And I know that our downtown police officers, they have huge connections with a lot of the social services providers in the downtown. So I often see them talking, working together, trying to find solutions. I often see sort of, if I could say, the baton passed. If there's an issue going on between a police officer and they know it's not really a policing matter, they will immediately have that social services sort of person and individual step in, and then that officer can go on their way. So there's a role to play for both, and there is that connection there. And I know for a fact our police officers and the police services board and the chief and the senior leadership team there would always be open to hearing any other partnerships that could help with that situation too. Okay, how many more questions do you want to do?
We'll do 2 more.
Okay, go ahead. Oh, this was sure.
So it looks like.
Are you getting another doctorate?
Looks like. Looks like we have an open position. So my question to you is, does the City of Guelph has an inclusive policy that will allow for inclusive hiring? And if not, are you willing to look into the policy to make sure that the hiring process is inclusive? Thank you.
Yes, so thank you for that question. And so the answer to that very easily is yes. So our internal processes have actually been really revamped over the last several years. We also have someone that was hired specifically to oversee that, not only internally, but to make connections with the community as well. And so we not really ever set like goals on that, because it should always be changing. And so we always have new things that are coming in. We're refreshing, revising, making things different all the time to make it more inclusive for people. I would say that I would just say that this is just purely observation for me. I've been at the city for over 10, 12 years now, and I haven't even just seen visually a very different workforce, which is more reflective of our community, and that is a very good thing. Sorry, someone else had a question? Yeah, oh, hi Marla, yeah, go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Cam, for your presentation. Excuse me. I do very much appreciate the things that you talked about and the prioritization. One of the things that I just want to underpin, we hear and you've experienced the pandemic of mental health that's coming. And many of us know that, and a number of us in the room are probably not impacted as much by that. But I think about all the issues that you talked about and the challenges that you talked about and how important that is. So I don't want us to walk out of this room not thinking about the pressures of the COVID pandemic, economic issues that people are facing, and the underlying issues around mental health. And congratulations to Helen and her team at the opening of the new mental health facility on Guelph Street. I just want to say that because I think that's a big part of everything that we've talked about. But I wanted to share something with you. It is some sort of a shameless plug. You spoke a little bit earlier about the city and the city's hiring and the importance of us having an inclusive community of belonging as we move forward with anything that we do, and that underpinning the work of the city. And I just want to say that, I'm putting words in your mouth now.
Yeah.
But I also want to share with you the Arts Everywhere Festival. We talked about tourism and the importance of tourism and people coming here.
Yep.
We have an international festival May 2nd to the 5th. And tying into and wrapping up the message that you have shared, I want to read a little bit, very, very briefly, from Nora Mason, who's going to be our keynote speaker on May 3rd. And she invites us into the ecology of communication, where nothing stands alone, and every action sets off a chain of incalculable consequences. She challenges conventional fixes for our problems, highlighting the need to tackle issues at multiple levels, understanding our interdependence, and embrace ambiguity, insisting on our collective responsibility to confront the looming threats to humanity's survival, advocating change through interconnectedness, and challenges us to rethink our perspectives on relationships, on community, and the very essence of being human. I just want to share that with you because that's critical as we talk about the importance of all the work that we have to do. How do we work together to make this happen? And I just wanted to use that to sort of wrap up what you just said, Cam, listening to your message.
Thank you. Next year I'll go to you to put a little bit of that on my speech.
Amazing, thank you. That is a really wonderful sentiment to end the discussion on. I want to thank our Mayor, Cam Guthrie, for your reflections and for sharing your priorities moving forward, and that I want to put back on the table, as we always do, that you can count on the Guelph Chamber of Commerce team, stakeholders, our members, our community at large, who look forward to continuing to work with you, staff, all of council, to get things done and to create the prosperous, thriving community that I know we all believe we deserve. So thank you, Cam.
Thank you.
So I'd now like to provide, I'd like to just bring up Dr. Charlotte Yates from the University of Guelph to provide our closing remarks. Dr. Yates began her career at the University of Guelph in 2015 when she was recruited to serve as the university's provost and vice president academic. In 2020, since 2020, she has been serving as president and vice chancellor. Please welcome President Yates.
Hello, everyone. This has to be a highlight of the year when we get to see one another and celebrate the city of Guelph. And I want to say, Cam, a particular thank you for your remarks. They're a reminder, a grounding reminder of the wonder of this city, but also the challenges we face and the need for us all to work together in solving those problems. I want to say thank you to Shakiba and the Chamber of Commerce for hosting this event. I think it's incredibly important, and I'm honored to be here today as not just a key institution and the second largest employer in the city, but also a key partner, willing and anxious to help solve many of the community's problems. There are so many exciting things going on, and I want to say that the University of Guelph is also deeply thinking and planning and working on issues related to the housing crisis. It remains an important issue for the city. It remains a very, very important issue for the University of Guelph, and of course, across the country. We know that for our population of almost 30,000 students, housing, accessibility, and affordability is key to their success. So as they just are starting off in their young lives, it's incredibly important that to focus on their studies, to focus on their excellence. They need housing and they need that security. So we're very pleased at the University of Guelph. We offer 20% of our students on-campus accommodations, and working with other community partners, private partners, we've been able to offer 5% of our students an additional 5% housing in the community. This is double what the average Canadian university offers, and it is 4 times what colleges offer. So we are making a difference, but we know there is more to do. We were able this year to accommodate all on-campus housing requests this fall, with some capacity left over. But we want to make sure that we meet emerging demands in the future. And what I mean by that is there's one type of student who wants to live on campus in their first year, and then we all know from our kids, our friends of our kids, our grandchildren, that as they grow older, our children want a different type of housing. Young people want housing in the community. They want a bit of independence from the university. And so in that sense, we're also looking at what are the needs for our students beyond that first year. And we recruit many people as graduate students who bring their families to the University of Guelph. What kind of housing do we need to provide them? I'm very pleased to announce that we've just completed a student housing strategy to determine the short and long-term needs of our entire student population. And as part of this housing demand study, I'm looking forward to releasing this study in the weeks to come. We will share this with our community partners so that people have the data from the university, but understand where it is that we're going and investing. We will continue to work with our community partners, both public, nonprofit, and private, to make sure that we realize the housing goals of the university and of our university community. We want to make sure that housing needs are met. One of the other priorities for the University of Guelph, and it takes us a little bit further from home, but nonetheless is important to the University of Guelph, but I would suggest to you it's important to the city of Guelph. And that is our commitment to improving life, to engaging in global partnerships. Our university is a top research-intensive university. Our students, faculty, and staff work hard to improve life and, through their global connections, to extend that commitment to improve life, not just here in Guelph, in Canada, but abroad. There is much that we do that has an impact on others around the world, whether it be opening up new trading relationships, whether it be new innovations that can help solve other businesses and countries' problems, or whether it can be the work, volunteer work that our students do around the world in helping schools, mental health in communities around the world. I am very proud of the fact that we have taken seriously the issues of climate change, food insecurity, public health concerns, and inequality to try and find the best solutions that impact our own communities, but communities abroad. By working with us, you directly support us in enabling a bright, vibrant future through scholarship, creativity, incredible research innovation, and partnership. Lastly, I want to make a little plea for our students. We have thousands of students. In fact, let me tell you, we hosted thanks to our Vice President of Research Innovation, Renee Van Acker, who brought this to my attention. We have a number of students who are interested in experiential learning opportunities, whether that be learning, whether it be co-op placements, whether it be research, whether it be volunteering in a nonprofit organization. Our students want that experience. It helps them learn the skills to move forward successfully in their ventures after university, but also it gives them a connection to the community and makes them feel they're having an impact. So I would add each and every one of you, if you are thinking of there's an opportunity for a student to be hired, to be a co-op, to be an intern, to be a volunteer in your organization, please, please reach out to us. We have a table here where we would love to have you inquire about what those opportunities are. And I want to give a shout out to our new CEO of the Guelph General Hospital, who has begun to work very, very closely with us, because we know that our students can contribute to the health of the city through deepening and widening partnerships. So I'd like to thank everyone at the Guelph Chamber of Commerce and the City of Guelph. I think we are so fortunate. This event was an enormous success, and we are a proud sponsor, but also a proud partner with the city, with the businesses of the city, and with the Chamber. We want to contribute to the success of the city, and I think we do that. Many of you are our alumni. Many of you have stayed here, built your businesses, you become leaders in the community, and you go on to look for talented labor, and that comes from the University of Guelph. So I want to say thank you for your investment in the university, but also we are deeply committed as partners with you. I particularly want to thank the sponsors of today's event, CN Rail, Conestoga College, Electra, Delta General Hotel and Conference Center, Enbridge, RBC, Royal Bank, and Fusion Homes. So enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you very much, and I look forward to the years ahead.